Hey, party people. Well, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Evan McDevitt for a playthrough of his game, Giant of Light. Giant of Light is a love letter to giant hero media in the vein of Ultraman. Players investigate strange goings-on, uncover mysterious aliens and ancient powers, and then do battle as either a giant hero or kaiju. And honestly, this game absolutely rips. There is such a level of love and adoration that comes through in the art, in the writing, in the design. It is just, it all... And I'll say it, in the game that we played, which I think was really special. I really think you're going to love hearing it. I had so much fun with this game. I think you're going to love it. You can find more information about Giant of Light at rudojudo.itch.io or check the show notes for more information.
But first, an ad. But for me this time. Hey party people, it's Present Jeff. I want to talk to you about a new thing that we're doing over on Patreon that I think you might really want to check out, and that is Party of One Plus One. Party of One Plus One is a new Patreon-exclusive bonus series that we're doing, which expands on Party of One, deeper conversations with returning guests. We're featuring bonus episodes where we continue the stories we tell on the podcast, new games with returning guests to keep the conversation about our shared passions going, and deeper looks at games that we're playing on the show to kind of show off the games that we're playing in a different light. We recently released an episode with friend of the show, Jadzia Axelrod, where we did kind of a superhero DC Comics fan fiction story starring Galaxy from Galaxy the Prettiest Star. We're about to drop a deeper dive into the game Pale Dot, which we're playing next week on the show, with designer Devin Nelson to kind of like show off the range of stories that game can play. We've got returning guests like Emily Booza, Rich Howard, Senda. There's a lot of cool stuff. I think that it's worth checking out if you haven't checked out the Patreon before, if you checked it out a while back and dropped off. All of that can be found at patreon.com/JeffStormer. If I say something else different later on in the episode, you're listening to an old episode, that URL is out of date. It's patreon.com/JeffStormer. And now, back to me in the past.
And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me.
Thanks, future me. I am so very excited. I'm sitting down with Evan McDevitt. Evan, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Oh, it is a delight to be here.
I am so freaking excited for today's game. I'm excited to be telling the story here today. And speaking of the game that we are playing, why don't you take a moment at the very top of our episode to let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you want to know about, and more importantly, the game that we are playing this week.
So, the game we are playing this week is Giant of Light, which is my my full-fledged homage to Ultraman, in particular sort of what's often called the New Generation era, which started in sort of the late thousands, which features a lot of it's a little bit more toyetic in a different way, which gives us some more stuff to play with in game, but also features a greater emphasis on the other side of the equation, like giving villainous characters more of a presence as like an ongoing part of the series, and the game sort of reflects that in some of its mechanics. But I am an independent dev. I've got 2 games in the hopper right now. One is called Free Lunch for Magic Users, which is kind of it's a little Adventure Time, a little Fallout, a little Discworld. You play as magical con men in a post-apocalyptic New England. The other one is called Shelf Warmers, which is, I've been kind of describing it as Toy Story 2 meets Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
It's a great pitch.
I'm pretty pleased with it. It is about being a lesser Transformer. Basically being one of the guys that isn't on the show much, and trying to stay relevant as the series reinvents itself over the years. So you're sort of a small gods versus capitalism kind of thing. I also received a grant through the Omen project for Apocalypse Keys, so I do have a supplement for Apocalypse Keys that will be coming out in the year in 2024. News on that to come. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of design work right now, and hopefully I'm going to have a bunch of more than one of these is going to release in the year.
Fuck yeah, that rules. I love to hear this. That's fantastic. That makes me so excited. Let's talk about what's got us excited. Let's talk about like what we're bringing to the table, and a little bit of like start to go through the like character and world building to start to build out the story that we're telling this week. So like, where are we at? You know, like what are you bringing? What's on your mind? What's the story beats that you're bringing today to the table that's got you excited about playing this game?
Well, one of the things that I really like about this, and one of the things that I want this game to sort of be, is I want this game to sort of be a gateway to. I'm a massive fan of tokusatsu in general, and I am a slightly later convert to Ultraman as a concept. And I am here partly because I desperately want to evangelize, because I also want to call you specifically out as someone who would really enjoy Ultraman.
Sure,
because
fair,
I think
valid.
that these are some just really wonderful sci-fi superhero stories. So I think that there's an element of that where it is, you know, there's elements of Superman, there's elements of Doctor Who, there's religious vibes that sort of have this blending of Catholicism and Buddhism. You know, some of the older works are these like fascinating Cold War pastiches, or not pastiches, they're works of the Cold War era. So one of the things that I love is that it is really versatile, and so Giant of Light is intended to be kind of a sandbox. And when you mentioned to me on social that you were feeling kaiju, I kind of wanted to think, like, are we looking at possibly a proper Philly vibe? I'm not a native. I moved to Philly as an adult, but Philadelphia is a good city to be protected by a monster, you know?
It feels like it feels like the city that would have a monster guardian. It does not feel like the city that would have a guardian that is a superhero. It feels like it would be a big weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a Marvel Comics run where a heroic version of Venom is like the hero of Philly, and like that feels all right. That feels good. Like Venom feels like a dude who would like rip off a car door and huck it at somebody. Like,
yeah, that feels right.
Philly
That
to
feels right to the city. This is a good energy, and I'm glad that this is what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
So my first assumption is that I'm picturing like an ambiguous near future version of Philadelphia. That this is
cyberpunk future Philly. Sure.
Yeah, a little cyberpunk, like more in the sort of RoboCop kind of cyberpunk, where it's like nothing's like lit up. There aren't LED screens everywhere. Nobody has like floating AI assistants. It's just, technology technically works slightly better, and everything is just kind of shittier in the way that
that
the future
that feels right. That feels good.
All right. So yeah, do you have a direction that you're looking in kaiju? Now, again, since Giant of Light is intended as, like I say, as a toy box, there's a lot that is done with flavor text. And when you're a kaiju user, one of the things that I want people to ask themselves is, do you literally become the kaiju? Do you go from being human-sized to kaiju-sized? Is this a thing that you summon? Is this a thing that you control? Is it like a projection of your mind into the world? What is your relationship to your giant self?
I think so. As I start to think about like the person, right? I start to think about character creation, and I kind of start to like think about. I think that the second you mentioned Philly, I started to get a character in head, and that kind of started to push me towards. That started to push me towards the connection between a kaiju, and I think I like the energy of it being like a connection between person and kaiju. I think is a good energy. I think is a like there is like a connection that is maybe not entirely physical, but is very like almost there's a sort of drift compatibility between human and kaiju that I think is very cool if we play in that space.
Yeah, a number of the what's often just called the Gamera trilogy plays with this idea a lot, where you've got like a kid who isn't controlling Gamera, but like this kid is like seeing into Gamera's mind, and there's definitely a sense of like, if he's in the mix, then Gamera is also getting these impressions back, and so there's sort of like kind of,
I think, the vibe. I think there's a connection there, and I know what I think the connection is, and it's funny to me, and it's the energy that I want to play out, I think.
Okay, well then let's start rolling. So who are we?
I've statted out my character. There are 4 stats in Giant of Light for human characters. There are eyes, which are perception. Guts is toughness inside and out. Dash is quickness of body and mind, and Zap is all about conflict. And a key thing that the rulebook calls out is that you're supposed to be someone who is in a position to investigate instances of wrongdoing, and that your job is not necessarily what you do for money, but it can be, and that there's a level of mobility and flexibility that goes into the job of like a human protagonist. All of these things with a Philly slant has led me to Brick Chickatori, and Brick is the owner of a small food cart somewhere in Center City of cyber future Philadelphia.
Oh, that's
it is like
what's the cart? Is it like, are we talking halal chicken? Is this like a cheesesteak thing, or
I think it's a hot dog cart.
Hot dog cart. I should have started.
I feel
there.
like because I think that Brick has noticed a very real truth of Philly that is that the hot dog cart is an underserved market. Like you're not gonna like if you're starting a cart now, you're gonna have a harder time breaking into a lot of the other cart styles. But hot dog cart, hard to come by. Not a ton of hot dog trucks in the city proper, and I think that Brick has opened up his to corner that market a little bit.
Okay, so Brick is somebody who, and he, him,
yeah.
And so Brick is, he's out in the city, and so the way that he kind of gets involved with things is, maybe he's got regulars who come by and are like, yeah, the usual, or maybe it's just, he's wheeling his cart from one spot to another. Things have gotten cold here on 8th, so I'm gonna head over to South Street, see what's going on over there.
Yeah,
and a
lot of events around the city. It's a city where stuff happens. A lot of stuff going on. Easy to find a place where something is happening, and if you gotta poke around after that, that's great.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, I think that in this future, I think that, I definitely like the idea of there being some kind of a formalized, I call out the concept of the defense team a couple times in the book. And this goes back to the origins of Ultraman as a concept, is the idea of a non-military, non-police kind of special action group. So in this version of Philly, are we thinking that monster attacks are fairly regular? Are we thinking that this is a presence that we need here? Or do you like the idea of Philly just sort of like, are we at the start of the story? Or is there a history that goes back a little bit?
I'm thinking about the very real political history of Philly, and I think like a very like a thing about one oof, but two, like I like the counter of that oof is that there is like a very real sense of a very real history of like political like there's a political organizing history to Philly that tells me that like informal what's the even
community
the,
action
community action, that's the term. Like there's a history of community action within the city that tells me that like a community action group, like a collective defense group of that like maybe isn't geared towards monster attacks, but like is geared towards getting people to safety and getting people what they need. And so like when monster attacks start, it's a very logical pivot. It's like, well, we're doing the same work that we were doing before. It's just a matter of ensuring that ensuring that people are protected. And also if we can, ensure that people are safe, that's an added bonus.
Yeah. And I immediately, I have a name for it.
Great.
And I'm sure it's an acronym, but I'm not great at figuring those out. Anytime you see me use an acronym in anything, know that it took me hours.
Sure.
But I immediately, Philly Fly, and their logo is a legally distinct eagle that happens to be green.
Sure.
And it is absolutely not a reference to anything for totally non-copyright related purposes.
Oh, absolutely not. 100%.
So, okay, so we got Philly Fly. They're based in the city. Brick probably knows these people, maybe sets up the cart outside there, but not necessarily a member officially.
That feels good.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, Ozguts, Dash, and Zap. What are the numbers we're working with here? Just to throw these out.
My eyes are 1, my guts are 3, my Dash is 2, and my Zap is 3. Brick is an
Scrappy.
old Brick is a large old Philly, like South Philly Italian man. Brick is built a little bit like Popeye or Bibbo Bibowski. Like is just large, thick, thick, chubby, burly, kind of big arms, that kind of barrel shape.
Mm-hmm.
That's Brick. I think Brick is a brick, for lack of a better way to put it. He got that name for a reason.
Right. And it's the sort of person where it's like, it's this guy got up to some shit. He was younger. He that nose has been broken, and that wasn't a fall. That wasn't a car crash. He's got a history, and it's better if you don't ask about it. Yeah.
In part because he will tell you about it.
All right. Now, how do you have a concept for the kaiju itself, or do you want to start talking about how Brick is bonded to it?
I'm trying to think about what I want this kaiju to look like, and I think I need to start. I think where I want to start with that is thinking about like what the elemental type of this kaiju is, what its vibe is, and then kind of work backwards. Because I've got an idea of the bond, I just need to like work backwards of like the physical shape of the kaiju.
Right. So while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to throw this out. For folks at home, when you're building your character in Giant of Light, you do choose at creation whether you're playing someone who is bonded to one of the titular giants, sort of a 50-foot tall, glowing cosmic superhero, or if you're bonded to a kaiju, which can be anything from sort of this beautiful, majestic dragon to a pile of literal garbage with feet. You get to sort of pick and choose when you're building a giant. A hero, you get to pick one of like several elemental attunements that you can, as you level up, you sort of gain new attunements that you can switch between as sort of stances. Kaiju, however, you build one, and as kaiju players level up, they basically get more kaiju that they can draw on. And instead of those elemental attunements, you sort of pick and choose from lists of abilities, special moves that you can do that all do something specific in combat.
I'm thinking something animal. So I'll talk about the bond. I know what I want the bond to be, and it's in making me laugh in my head.
It's a good start.
I think a good moment for this character, like a great moment between human and kaiju, is the moment when like the rampage stops and they have like a very normal human interaction, and that's kind of the bonding moment.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of like a stubborn, belligerent Philly, I use the term affectionately, a belligerent Philly dickhead, like grabbing a pile of hot dogs and sort of like throwing it at a monster who then swallows the hot dogs and then just like sits for a moment, and we like work out, like there's a moment of like, all right, you're cool, I'm cool, no beef. Like there's a moment of, that is, I think, a good basis of a bond between a human and a monster, and I'm trying to decide what I want that vibe to look like. Because I'm thinking,
can I throw a thing out that immediately pops up into my head? Yes. And I've worked in the pet care industry, and if you have any involvement with pets or companion animals in Philadelphia, you will know that every shelter in the city is full of these ambiguous pit mixes, and they are huge, square-headed, and they are friendly as hell. They are, people talk about pit bulls, and it's this like catchphrase for like something that is just mindless and aggressive, and that can be the case if you raise it wrong, sure. But like a pit bull's natural default state is, oh, are we friends now? Are we buds? And to me, like, the Philly dog is this thing that's like, maybe there's a little lab in there, maybe there's a little bit of something that's got like a longer coat, so like the tail is weird, but you look at it and it's just it's square, and it's got those wide set friendly eyes that's just sort of like, all right, what's next?
I'm gonna pull on this, and we're going to do a live Full Metal Alchemist Chimera building right here on mic, because I know when you said animals in Philly, a very specific thing popped into my head.
Yeah.
and I'm imagining, I've now got the image of the thing. Imagine a giant, so there's three things that I'm pulling on. One of them is from pop culture and the other two are that really iconic Philly dog. One of them is the like dragon alien from the Avengers that Hulk punches in the face.
Yep.
And the third one, in that I think a lot of the like movement, and if you imagine that pit mix dog but like long, almost like long bending, almost snake-like skeleton, but specifically like the sort of long muscular legs of a horse. Because there's a thing about Philly, a thing about West Philly that I love is that like we have a very like there is a culture of horse riding.
Yes.
You see it like if you drive around the city, you are very likely to see someone riding like a cowboy on horseback because we have a tradition of horseback riding. And so like the idea of this sort of like long lizard horse dragon creature with this big square frame and kind of scrunched pit bull like face.
Yeah, this big flattened off nose. Yeah. And it's quadrupedal, so okay.
I think it's even more than quadrupedal. I think it's got a bunch of these like horse limbs that it walks almost like a big long centipede like motherfucker as it like crawls along walls and things and jumps up and down, and like it came crashing down the street, pulled up to like turned a corner, saw my cart. We had a stare down. I grabbed like 6 hot dogs from the hot dog water, threw it in its direction. It ate them. And then there was a moment of like, all right, this works. This works pretty good. And then we built an understanding in that moment that I think is core to the human kaiju bond.
Yes, so there's some sort of a like ambiguously psychic kind of a maybe, you know, it knows when you're in danger, it knows when it's being called kind of thing. You know what's going on with it. Okay. All right. So a couple little things that are just sort of innately a part of the characters is that there is always a ability to make sort of melee attacks. There's always the ability to make sort of ranged attacks. So when this thing, and we'll come up with a name in a sec. When this thing is making like ranged attacks, are we talking like breath of fire? Does it shoot lightning or energy beams, or is it just like picking stuff up with its tail and hucking it, or what are you picturing? Does it shoot quills or?
I'm gonna go with a sonic scream. I like a good sonic scream. Is a good energy.
All right. Okay. Sonic scream. So are you gonna roll for stats, or are you gonna do the one of the point buy?
I'm gonna do the preset, the 3, 3, 2, 1, I think, and I've got my 4 stats are strong, sturdy, speedy, and potent. And I'm thinking I'm gonna go 3 sturdy, 3 speedy, 2 potent, and 1 strong. That feels good. That feels like a good energy.
Yeah. So this is it's a tough thing. It's a mover, but it's not really going to get into a slugfest.
No, I think it fights. I think it fights more from a distance. Feels like a good energy for this particular thing.
All right. Then last piece of the puzzle is you get to pick 2 abilities.
All right. I'm going to take free movement. Feels really great. That feels good. That feels good for this kind of winding snake-like body to be able to kind of move a little bit more freely.
Yeah. Okay. And that means that so just again for the folks at home, this means that there is a -1 reduction to movement abilities, but when there are things on the map that would normally obstruct movement, this creature can actually go straight through them as though they weren't there, and even end a turn inside the obstruction, giving a defensive bonus.
And I think create wreckage feels also really good. so that you can damage obstructions, creating new obstructions in nearby squares. And this does not target an enemy and does not require. Well, that feels good, especially since I can move through things.
Yeah.
Given that like a scream like explodes walls and things, that feels like a fun dynamic.
And I do want to shout out that is a very coherent strategy that I had never thought of. Despite being the person who came up with both of those abilities, and they are literally next to each other in the book, I have never thought about the obvious conclusion that happens when you put them together. Where so this creature is tough, it's quick, and it's all about sort of controlling space. Does this thing have like a fancy kaiju name? Are we gonna throw out some sci-fi syllables, or did Brick just name it like he would have named a dog that he adopted at the shelter?
Kind of like it just having. I kind of like it's got an elaborate sci-fi name, but I do think that it just gets called. What do I want to name this thing?
I'm picturing a big, dramatic anime moment, and Brick, snaps his fingers and the music swells and he just shouts, "Roscoe!"
You know what? We've already tapped on my beloved Eagles. I think it's gonna be Swoop. I think he calls him Swoop.
Okay.
I think he's got a little bit of a bird beak, and so he calls him Swoop because he's got a little. It's more of an owl, like that flat nose. It's a little more of an owl beak than like an eagle beak. But he's just like, it's a bird. I call him Swoop.
All right. Okay.
Go birds.
Go birds. All right. So then, yeah. All right. So let's see here. So, we know where we're at. We know what's going on. We're basically ready to get right in it, unless there's anything else you want to touch on before we go.
I think we're ready to rock and roll.
All right, so I'm thinking we open. It's mid-morning, maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock So busy part of the day for Brick, but he notices that he's getting to a part of town where there should be all kinds of movement. Maybe he's like a block or two away from City Hall. There should be people on every corner. There should be people getting on and off buses. And it's weirdly quiet. And he hears this kind of like, this kind of clanging, coming from one direction, but then from another, he sees one person way off in the distance, and this is, let's say, this is somebody he sees pretty regularly, somebody he sees on the regular, and it's, just somebody who works in one of the banks, and this banker has had like the lapels torn off his jacket. He is lacking pants, and his face is bruised and bashed, and he is just like staggering forward.
Hey, boss, hey.
You
good?
No hot dog today. I'm okay.
I'm saying,
do I look okay?
Speed it up. You good? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
There's guys in trench coats. They're just. How did they not catch you? They're just like pushing everybody out of the way. They're just like.
What are you talking about? Catch me? I'm easy to find. Were they looking for me? They say me?
No, they just showed up. There was this.
Is it Ricky? Because I told him I paid him. I swear.
There was this. It was this helicopter. It came down, and then these guys in trench coats just came out, and they just started just pushing everyone out of the way. And I was like, "Hey, what are you talking about? This is. I got to get into that building." And they just didn't even acknowledge that I was there until this one steps out, and is like twice as tall as the others. It's like a guy who's kind of a red kind of, I don't know, kind of giant man, and he just laughed and called me a slur redacted, and just like slapped me in the face, and before I knew it, I was half a street away, and I just saw this trench coat guys just pushing people in all directions away from that helicopter.
Huh. All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out. Thank you for the heads up. I mean, they come mess with my cart, Well, listen, it's better if I don't tell you because then you got plausible deniability. You know what I mean?
I guess I don't know.
I'm saying I'm going to beat him with a tire iron. I didn't know if that was unclear.
I gotta go. I mean, I don't live in the city. I'm not.
All right, well, get out of here, tourist. What are you doing here?
I don't think the trains are running. I guess I could just start running and see if I can get an Uber. Good luck. I guess. And then he just beats it. He continues to stagger off in the general direction of the suburbs.
Goddamn main line out here crying about helicopters and big red guys throwing slurs. We don't use that kind of language here. This is Philly. Ugh, all right. I think like digs through his cart, does grab a tire iron and proceeds to just kind of like start poking around, like puts up a little paper tent that just says closed back in 1 hour, poking around. Now I gotta go poke around some kind of helicopter conspiracy, a pain in my ass. Every day it's something. This is why I'm moving. I'm moving to Westchester or some. They don't have this shit out in Westchester.
So the investigation has begun. It sounds like you're going into this expecting to fight back. So I would say this is probably rolling Zap.
Okay.
Unless you think that this is, I guess you could argue that he's being sort of guarded and keeping an eye out, and he's rolling eyes. But we also know that's his weakest.
This feels good. I do imagine the next thing that we see is somebody in a trench coat, like doing whatever business they're doing, and just hearing off in the distance, like, yeah, if I move to Westchester, I'm gonna have to like get a house, and that's just I rent for a reason. And then just tire iron to the back of the head.
All right, well, you gotta give me a D10 plus your Zap.
That's a 12. That is a 9 plus 3.
That is the exact phrase used in the book. That is an astounding success, and you are in control. So you tell me what happens to Trenchcoat. I'll tell you what you find depending on what you say.
I think walloped in the back of the head, falls over, like, are they armed in any way? Because I think they drop any kind of weapons that they have.
Well,
less out of being like knocked unconscious and more just out of like sheer shock.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about dropping anything, because what you feel is you feel something break, not in the way that like a skull would break, but you feel this feels like that one time you got to go to town on a copy machine. This is this is a piece of machinery. It's mostly plastic as it hits the ground. And
I think that's what shocks Brick back into reality. Like, looks at the tire iron for a second. Oh, thank God that's some kind of robot, man. I really did not want to have to hide a body today. It was,
yeah,
I get fired. I get fired up. I get excited. Stuff starts, and then you get it. You understand.
It struggles to roll over, and you see there's no comprehension in it, but you do see a lot of corporate logos are sort of this machine looks almost like a NASCAR driver underneath the trench coat. And it's this trench coat and hat, sort of like a Ninja Turtle trying to go to the movies. And so this is all knocked out of the way, and this is you're seeing corporate logos, but just in that way that you instinctively recognize that they are corporate logos, because this isn't in English, this isn't in any language that you've ever seen written down. These are weird scribbles and squashes, but like, that's a face, that's somebody eating a leg of chicken, although the chicken is blue. But somebody, a fried chicken ad when you see it. And that's clearly some kind of a car company or something, because the logo is all made to look fast, and that one just like you feel it in your guts. Again, just that's a bank. This is sponsored by a bank or like a crypto coin or something, because that's money. Nobody makes their logo look like a gold coin unless they're talking about money.
Right.
So, you've basically intercepted an outward point of this net that is intended to be sweeping outward and just sort of taking care of things. And as it falls, you see sort of a flicker of energy that had been connecting to the other units start to sort of shimmer into being visible and then sort of visibly break. And you hear a bunch of clattering. Basically, I'm gonna say that you've sort of knocked out the lead unit. And so now whatever was pushing people out is no longer going to be doing that. But it does mean that sort of in the direction that it was walking from, you also hear some sort of an alarm go off, some sort of an alert. And, again, just instinctively, a swear when you hear it. Someone is cursing, someone is upset. But they are not speaking English. They are talking in sort of some kind of a Greg kind of sound.
I am gonna walk directly. I think I see this. I scoff and then make my way back towards the cart, and I think I am walking towards the source of this, pushing my little hot dog cart as I walk to figure that towards this sort of. I'm walking with my hot dog cart towards the direction of wherever the swearing is happening.
Okay. So as you approach, it's not too long before you see this red giant that was brought up before. And this is a being that looks, it's humanoid. It's human-ish. It has skin. It's looks like it's wearing sort of it's got like a little band of cloth around what you would generally call a groin, and another one across the torso that has more of those logos attached to it, and it's it's laughing and talking and speaking at first in that sort of Grieg kind of language to to someone holding a device. And instinctively you know what's going on here. This is a cameraman, and the giant is gesturing expansively, and then after a moment takes a second, sees you, laughs, and flips a switch on a device on its wrist, and goes, well, now I'm going to talk in the language of the locals so that you can actually get a little bit of what these things are supposed to be like.
I think as he's talking, like the cameraman, like there's the cameraman. I do think Brick parks his hot dog truck directly behind as this guy is monologuing, sets up and just starts pointing at tongs at the logo of the cart, which I think is just like number one hot dog, right? Like this is a cart that's just like hot fresh hot dogs.
Yeah, this is not
hot fresh hot dogs logo. It's just like
graphic
pointing
design
at it with
is my
tongs.
passion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you proud of this setup, huh? You like this? All right, great. So what are you? What are you? You human, right?
I mean Italian.
Okay.
But I guess that is a subset of human.
All
being
right,
specific.
And what you got here is food, right? This is what humans eat.
Well, I'd call it delicious. Are you a Fed? Are you FDA?
I don't even know it. I listen. I'm trying to get some of the local flavor here before the big night.
As long as you're not FDA, we can call it food. I don't try to understand what goes into the great American hot dog, but food, we call it food. All
right. Well, so this food, this is normal food that like anybody gets to eat. This is this isn't expensive. This isn't pricey.
No. It's $3 for a hot dog, $4 for a sausage. Cheese is an extra $1.
And as you are saying that, he winds up and just like, absolute football kick, like just like a kickoff, just punts that thing up and through the air, and you see your cart crash into the into the 15th floor building run by PNC, and they are that office is going to smell like hot dogs for years to come, because it is just dust in there. Like, everything in it has been atomized. And the giant turns back to his camera and goes, "Oh, well, we don't waste our time with that. You live like me. You live large. We win. I am the champion. And when you are the champion, you don't waste your time on things that normal people can have. That's why we travel alone. That's why we do this, is because I can, and to show you that I do. And that's why, Grindo, you lousy, slur redacted, truly astounding number of slurs redacted, you don't deserve to fight me, because you don't get it. You don't live in my world." And he is completely ignoring you. You don't exist to this guy right now. He is, he's delivering this monologue, just this full heel promo, and he's got his back turned to you, and, you see like one or two scattered hot dogs that he's just like going out of his way to step on as he talks.
And Brick is listening to the whole thing with just like an unenthused expression. He's doing kind of the scratch in the back of his head thing. Waits until he's done, gives one of those big broken nose sniffs, like a "You done?"
"Oh, you're still here."
"Yeah, I'm saying, you done? You done talking?"
"Oh, I mean, I'm done talking. That means that I'm gonna hurt somebody. Are you volunteering to get hurt? Human?
You
Italian?
seem to still be talking. I'm asking if you're done talking or not."
All right. What are you gonna do if it is time to stop talking?"
"Hey, yo, Swoop."
And
"Give it a minute. He takes a while. He's probably off. He loves to play. Hey, yo, Swoop." That's any minute now. I swear, it takes longer and longer. And then I think eventually, cresting around a corner, Swoop like comes bounding, sniffs the hot dog, like grabs and throws two of the hot dogs on the ground into the air, and just like comes crashing next to Brick. "Hey, buddy."
Now, when we talk about this game, like, the scale of this is that usually when fights happen, the combatants are, a good 40, 50 meters tall. Swoop, is Swoop starting, does Swoop grow giant, or is Swoop always giant, or are, like, what's, help me paint the picture here, because I don't think we
like
pin
Swoop
that down.
always being giant, and which is why I like the image here being Brick like standing perfectly still as like a 50, 60 foot giant like horse lizard dog thing comes bounding down a street, causing destruction, grabs like a bunch of hot dogs, pulls a bunch of hot dogs out of the cart on the side of this building, and just like like towering over Brick. He's just like, "Hey, buddy." Give like a tap to his foot.
Great, because I realize that I've been using the word giant sort of recklessly here. When I say giant, I mean this alien, this red guy is only like 9 feet tall. He is not that big, and so there was a thought of, I didn't know if you were going to escalate this yourself, or if this is Swoop's problem already, because there is, peek behind the curtain, this does have a higher gear to get kicked into. So I wanted to know how immediately we're getting there.
I think I like Brick calling Swoop, like seeing a 10-foot tall guy calling on his dragon, whether or not, like, Brick is probably still gonna throw the next punch, but like this is purely posturing of like,
Okay.
fuck with like this is me issuing a fuck around and find out of like
Right. Well, that in and of itself, even if you're not necessarily throwing a punch yet, that is still another zap check. Absolutely. So, because that is what you would use to intimidate someone. You know, if you're throwing your chest out at somebody, then that is also a zap check. So give me another roll.
that is an 8 plus 3 is 11.
Jesus. Okay. Well, I guess what does the red guy think of in this moment?
I mean, this was a I thought I was picking on somebody that I could I thought I was picking on somebody that I could take, and they have just escalated. Like, I think their reaction is your exact reaction of like, hey, this is you have kicked things way too high a gear way too quickly, and now there's a giant monster on the scene, and I was kind of maybe just expecting you to throw a punch or swing a tire iron, and it's a little bit of a bringing a gun to a knife fight of like whoa man, we were just trying to have fun.
Yeah. Okay. So, in that moment, he's stumbling back, and cameraman still has things trained, and you hear another voice. You finally spot someone coming out of that helicopter, which has mostly they call it a helicopter. It's really just sort of it's just sort of a like vaguely car-shaped thing with a stick on top. And there's no obvious method of propulsion, but apparently it descends vertically. So they called it a helicopter before. And someone steps out of that, and you hear, "Hey, Congreg, what the fuck are you doing?" The red guy turns around. "Well, I mean, I was trying to set up for the pay-per-view like you said, show up and throw some money at the locals, and I just what do you want me to go on? I don't that dude's a friggin' animal. I don't fight animals." Congreg, I swear to Christ, if you could get your fucking concussed head together for 20 goddamn seconds. This is a very important show, and you just broadcast yourself shitting your pants to all of our subscribers. I mean, I didn't think they had these things here. I thought this planet was just humans and Italians. All right, Jesus, fuck. So, the other alien that apparently speaks English comes over towards you, and it is just completely hairless. It is like think a gray alien, but wearing like Tap Out merch, basically.
Sure. That tracks.
And comes over, and also does the sort of thumb across the nose sniff, sizes you up, and goes, "What the fuck you think you're doing to my fighter?"
He ran his mouth, he kicked my card, I was standing up for myself.
And you think this gives you the right to just completely blow 2 years worth of... I mean, this planet was gonna... We have a whole... Sponsors are coming. I can't cancel this. That big stupid asshole is supposed to defend his title in 2 days. And now your fucking dog has just completely made him look like the stupidest idiot on the planet. So now I guess we have to kill you. We have to kill you. He has to kill you on camera. And I just want to know, could you offer any kind of explanation before I make this as painful as possible for you?
I mean, you say I made him look like the stupidest idiot in the galaxy, but honestly, sometimes looks ain't exactly deceiving, so maybe it was just his true self coming through.
All right. It's fine. All right, Congreg, do your thing, you fucking worthless idiot. All right. Yeah. No, it's good. I'm doing the thing. And he starts sort of walking around in a circle and flexing his shoulders and stomping his feet and flexing his hands, and just very, very obvious, sort of like trying to get into a headspace thing. And you see him starting to swell, and he is growing. He is getting larger, sort of disproportionately. Before he'd been sort of tall and lanky. Again, I say 9 feet. Very sort of a Yao Ming kind of build, and now that's sort of inverting. He's going from being very tall and lanky to, despite the fact that he's getting much taller, he feels more wide than he is tall. He's wide, he's deep, he's just got a lot of bulk to him. And the Gray hits a couple of things on his huge flashy watch, and he throws out a big electric net. And I'm going to need you to roll dash.
All right. That is a 2 plus my dash, which is 2, so that is a 4.
That is a failure. So this electric net fully envelops you, and you go down hard. It hurts, but you're not like knocked out. You're not in a bad way, but it does mean that Swoop is not able to get to you, and you are not able to get to Swoop before the Gray drags you into the, again, quote unquote, helicopter.
Sure.
And it looks like, unless you can think of one last thing for Swoop to try, it looks like it might be party time.
I think it's party time. I think the second like I go down, the second that like I get hurt in that way, it's a little bit of the bond being like the bond act between us activating, and a little bit of the bond between us being severed at the same time. Of like, well, now's when Swoop stops being a big funny cute dog and starts being a gigantic monster. Like, it is
Right.
a little bit of a Swoop has spent this entire time being nice, and now it's time to go apeshit.
Okay. So I have just sent you the image for a starting map.
Sure.
You are the you/Swoop are the O, and the increasingly gigantic, the sort of chode man Congreg is the X.
Sure.
And I am also going to say that I'll actually just go ahead and mark this down, that in D1 is the location of the helicopter.
Okay.
That Brick and the Gray are in. Now, normally, the way that this works in Giant of Light is that whoever initiated things goes first. That usually in an Ultraman show, usually the monster is sort of there and smashing up, and so I sort of let the monster take the kaiju takes the first turn, just in realm of they were already doing stuff. But I feel like this is a pretty even keel. So will you go ahead and roll Speedy for me?
That is a 6.
All right, so Congreg's result is a 4. So,
all right.
So you got a 6. So yeah, you are making the first move.
All right. I think I know exactly what my first move is going to be. I think the second that Brick gets netted up, I think Swoop is going to unfurl that strategy that we talked about. Let loose a sonic scream at the so a little bit about the actual map. There's sort of an L shape from this is a 7x7 grid, vertically 1 to 7, horizontally A through G. There is like an L shape of buildings from F2 swooping around to D4. There's also 3 buildings from A to C2, and 2 buildings from A to B6. So that's the buildings. Yes. That's the layout of the map that we're looking at. I'm gonna unleash a sonic scream at the building directly in front of me at D4, and blow this up, and ideally dump some debris directly on top of the champ. From one of the 3 locations.
if you're making that as a direct attack, I'm actually going to say that you have enough to. I'd call that line of sight.
Okay.
Because that was part of my intent with the placements that I dropped you into, that you should be you can make that shot if you want to go for him directly. You can choose to make the shot at the building, but if the building is hit, then it won't pierce. So,
Well, what I'm thinking here is, talk to me about what will happen if an obstruction is placed on top of him, because I know that he can't end his turn at an obstruction. What happens if an obstruction appears on top of him at this moment?
If an obstruction appears on top of him, that is an excellent question that I should have put in the book. I guess I'll have to release an updated version in a little bit. If you drop an obstruction on him, I'm going to say that forces him out of that space. And I will say that we will roll damage on that. I will roll damage based on let's just call it 2 plus D4.
That feels good. That feels good, and that feels like that's going to allow me to. I want to keep him at a distance because my specialty is ranged attacks, and also if I can move through this wreckage, I can kind of pick at him from my wreckage points and keep him from being able to get to me directly.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna blast this building and put 3 blocks of wreckage in adjacent spaces. Let me pull up the map again.
Okay.
In C3, which is where he is right now.
Yep.
As well as C4, and we'll say C3, C3, 4, and 5 will be the 3 adjacent squares as I blow up this building to really make it a pain in the ass for him to maneuver to me specifically.
Yeah. Okay. So the obstruction in D4 is now passable normally. He can't end his turn in that space, but you can. But you can both move through it as though there's nothing there. Which direction do you want to force him with? Force him in. I'm gonna say you have the advantage in this. Since I definitely don't think he saw this coming at all.
I want to force him into D3 so that he's kind of surrounded on obstructions at all sides, so that he's got to navigate. Basically, wherever he wants to move, he's going to have to navigate those obstructions.
Okay. All right, so he is now there. All right, and then roll the D4 for me.
Alrighty, let me grab a D4. That is a 2.
All
plus,
right.
You said +2, so 4
+2.
total.
So 4 damage. All right, noted. Oh, did you ever remember, because you don't have to tell me the value, but did you remember to roll Swoop's health?
No, I did not.
Roll a D10. And if you get a 1 or a 2, re-roll it until you get something that isn't a 1 or a 2, and then add your sturdy and just mark it down. You do not need to tell me what that value is, but do tell me if Swoop hits 0. All right. Well, that is Champ's turn. Congreg gets to make his move. And like I said, the obstruction in D4 doesn't slow him down now. Now that that's been destroyed using your create wreckage.
Mm-hmm.
So he is going to be able to march right for you, and he is going to use pin down, which is an attack that also deals a D4 of damage +2, and it prevents you from moving for 1 turn. Then neither of you will be able to use neither you nor he will be able to use those abilities again for the next turn. You can't chain together infinitely. But before we know if it hits, this is a strong ability, so this uses his strong stat. I am going to roll a D10 plus his strong, which is 4 because he's a big old fight man. So that is a 9. Now, you choose either sturdy or speedy and add 3 to that value.
That is a 6.
Okay, so that lands. So now we roll damage. That is, bad luck. That is a 4. So that is a total of 6 damage, and you are not able to move on this on this coming turn.
Okay.
And you are go. Congreg is currently in D5, right in your face.
And I can't move, so I'm going to have to rely on my physical attack here.
I mean, you can use a ranged attack at close range. There's nothing saying you can't. It just does less damage if it hits.
Then I think I got a better chance of hitting with potent than I do strong, so I think it's just going to be getting right in his face and letting out a sonic scream.
Okay.
That is a 9.
A 9. 9 is going to beat out anything I could do for defense, so that connects, and so we are talking. That is 2 damage to Congreg. Took 4 already, so because I forgot to mark that down. All right, great. All right, and now he is feeling it. Like, he knows he's being filmed, and he needs to make up for the fact that this thing embarrassed him because it showed up when he didn't think that there were kaiju on Earth. And so he's got to make a show of it. He's got to do something cool. He's got to make this look nice. So he is going to activate the flight ability, so that he can so that he can kind of make this look cool. And so he is actually going to leave the board until his next turn. He is not attacking yet.
Next turn, I am going to move into B6, smash into this building, feast all the remaining hot dogs that are tucked into this office building.
Yep.
And take a +2, take a bonus to my defense. On the next turn.
Okay, great. Congreg returns to the board. I'm going to say he returns in B5, and he is going to be swinging. Basically, picture sort of a hammer fist blow as he comes down from flight. He is trying to crash through all of this building as he goes. So you get the defensive bonus, but the building will be damaged after this, and if you stay in this space, that defensive bonus will go away.
Sure.
So he is again attacking strong because again it's what he's good at. Oof, that is a 12.
That's gonna hit.
So that is a hit. And that is just a regular hit. That is a regular hit, so that is 4 damage to you.
And that puts me at 0.
That puts you at 0. Okay. Okay, so you are in the danger zone once his turn comes back around.
Okay. And I am going to move into A6 and let loose another one of these sonic screams.
That will damage the building that you're hiding in, so just to be clear.
You
can attack and then move.
I think that's the game plan. I think that's the better move. Let loose a sonic scream. That gets a... Let me roll this dice. That gets a 5. That gets a 7. And so my attack is a 7.
Okay, that beats him defensively.
And that hits for another 2, and then I'm going to retreat into A6 and smash up this building, but take the defensive.
Okay. And that brings him... He is at 1. So I don't have to announce that, but I'm gonna just for narrative dramatic purposes. So he is at 1. So you are now getting the benefit of the +2, and he's hurt. He's feeling it, but he has to make it look like this is easy.
Yeah.
So he is going to, he does not have natural ranged abilities. So he is going to improvise a ranged weapon by sort of grabbing some of the damaged building that you were just in and trying to sort of like with a sidearm skipping stone toss. He's going to toss one of those chunks in through the window to try and get you, which is probably not good tactics, but it is good television. So,
sure.
That is only a 4. So
all right, that does not hit.
That does not hit. It does hit the building. to be clear. So the building is now crumbling on that one side. So the defensive boost is gone, but you do not take damage, and he is going to actually I think he's actually going to pull back, because I think he wants to get back towards his boss. So he is going to move to B3.
I'm going to move back from A6 into B6 and then unleash another one of these Sonic Screams. Just like the second that the champ turns and runs, I'm just going to try and catch him in the back of the head.
Right.
And that's an 11.
That's an 11. So okay, you and the champ are both at 0. So you are this is sort of sudden death. And we should I go over it now, or do we do it when an attack lands?
Go over it now that we're both at 0.
So now that we're both at 0, what happens when you are when a kaiju is fighting another kaiju? Because giant heroes have, their big flashy tokusatsu special effect finishing moves. But not relevant here. When a kaiju is defeating another kaiju, you just have to land a hit on someone who's at 0 health. That person then rolls a d4, and if they roll anything other than a 4, they go down. So, I think having taken that shot to the back of the head, that is, the opposite of what Congreg wanted. He does not want to be seen getting kipped upside the head by another sonic blast. So he's trying to think of what is the coolest, funniest, most gifable thing he could do, and he is going to because we've established that he has flight, that he functionally has flight with these sort of like Incredible Hulk leap type moves. He's not going to use that actively for movement, but I'm going to say that he is trying to make it look cool by using these sort of like, he's trying to basically do like a backflip Pele kick. Sure. He's gonna advance to B5 again, and does sort of a handspring, does a backflip, and he is gonna try and do this overhead kick to score the knockout, to make it look good and get his win back. And I rolled a friggin' 1.
Okay.
Which is a 5, to be fair. That is still a value of 5. That does miss. So he just eats it in front of you.
And I think the second that he's coming back, I am going to try and catch his leg in my jaws and kind of do the Hulk back and forth swing thing between two buildings.
Yeah, the metronome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do the metronome, and that is a 7.
That is a 7. I think actually I can't beat that. I was gonna say I could beat that if I use his sturdy, but it would be more appropriate to use his speed here. But no, I couldn't beat that with his sturdy anyway. So yeah, you got him, you get him. He's swanging. And if I roll anything on a 4 here, then he gets caved in. Yeah, that's a 2. So all right, so then he is down. And as soon as that last impact is made, you hear a pretty kind of righteous crunch from the middle of all that meat, and he immediately starts sort of leaking fluid as he shrinks back down to his original size. It does, appropriately enough, kind of smell like hot dog water. It's a very sort of unpleasant, meaty smell. As he returns back to being 9 feet tall, and Swoop can hear and can kind of feel that Brick is moving, and because Brick can start feeling his hands again. He's that electric net, that paralyzation. He is just mad enough that this thing should have kept him from moving for hours, but he's already. He's already good to go. He's starting to feel it again, and he is starting to move as this helicopter starts to take off. And the Gray he switched off his translator, and he is talking on the phone. He is very animated, and there's a very angry man inside his helicopter. I have a guess what your next move is, but
Yeah,
it is only fair for you to say it.
I think there's been some fucking around. It's time to find out, and I'm gonna roll Zap.
Yeah.
And that's a 13.
That is a 13. That is once again an exceptional success, an astounding success. So yeah. How hard does he get hit? What do you want to happen? Noting that the pilot seems to be, this seems to be an autopilot kind of thing. He's not flying it. He's on his phone.
Hard enough to knock out the autopilot.
Okay. So, I am going to say as the helicopter starts, as this ship starts to descend, give me a speed check from Swoop as though it were sort of an adventure check.
Sure.
To see if this goes okay.
That's a 10. That's pretty good.
Okay, that's a 10. That's a success. So in a 10, I'm going to say that this thing, which that weird vertical protuberance, it has this sort of like thrumming, thing. And I think what it is that it's also somehow kind of a sonic wavelength. So I think Swoop actually is sort of in tune enough with it, with just his hearing, that he knows just where to dive and just sort of catches it. And, sort of like a, Batman sliding down the Brontosaurus spine in Batman and Robin kind of thing, just kind of goes pew, and Swoop can sort of gently direct this crashing helicopter to the ground. And as that happens, I think we finally see some folks from Philly Fly roll up in their vans with their very hastily painted logos on there, and one of the let's say the field captain of Philly Fly, Tamara Stark, steps out, and she's got her sunglasses on. She's also got her cell phone out, but she's hanging up as she gets out. She looks you over and she goes, "Rick, I feel like I should be more surprised about this."
Took you long enough.
Yeah, you're right. All right. So, we some of our team were able to pick up a little bit of what's going on here. I think we know what's going on. I think we know a little bit of this. But it seems like Earth was supposed to be the ring for a couple of round for some kind of alien monster fighting tournament. And
are you kidding me?
Yeah, looks like
you could have told me that a couple of hours ago. I wouldn't have gone messing around with things, and I could have had us seen a monster fight. That's just disappointing. Tamara, I love you. You do great work here. You've ruined my day. I want you to know that. That's nothing against you, but you have ruined my day.
I've got some good news. If that's how you feel about it.
I do feel that is how I feel.
The good news is that that's still apparently going to happen. The money behind this tournament is apparently very invested in seeing what it would look like as Earth is used up by one of these by some of these fights. So at least some of these fighters are still on their way.
All right, this is what I like to hear.
Now, your boy is good, but I'm not sure that everyone's going to go down quite as easy as Big Red over there.
Understood.
So we've got a bit of a trainer. If you're willing to hear him out.
I'm listening. I like where this is going.
Turns over his shoulder and says, "Hey, can you get the guy?" "Yeah, sure thing, boss." And someone opens the sliding door, and you see a fairly large man. He's older. His hair is almost completely gray, but you can tell this is someone with a very strong physical presence. And you can tell that, he's been around just because he seems almost bored, like he's waiting for what comes next. You've seen you've heard of a military high and tight, but you've never heard of a high and tight that literally goes past the boundaries of the person's head before.
Sure.
And this guy, this gray-haired man with this ridiculous flat top, comes over to you, says, "Saw your fight out there. Well, your friend's fight. And I think we can work together. Colonel William F. Guile, USAF, retired." And he holds out his hand.
You a cop?
"No, sir."
All right. Shakes his hand.
All right, and I think we sort of iris in on the idea of Swoop getting a little training from someone else who's pretty comfortable with sonic attacks. Someone
that feels good. That feels good.
Sound is definitely in the field there. I think I was gonna have like a whole breakdown motive rant from the Gray, but I think if you punched him so hard that his computer felt it, I don't think he really has too much to say for the rest of the day.
That feels good. I think that's game. I think that's a wrap. That feels like a pretty good ending beat.
I think we got there.
I'm thrilled. This was a delight. Thank you so much for this. This was the highlight of my day.
I'm so glad. It's peek behind the curtain for folks listening. We have had to reschedule this several times, including once because I literally needed emergency surgery 2 days before we were going to record.
It's been a journey getting this episode online.
This game came out in July of 2023, and it has taken until December of that same year to get things going. So
it's been a long road getting it on there, but I'm so glad that we were able to sit down and make it happen because I am thrilled.
And I do want to throw out a couple of promotions.
That please.
Are going to be
before we wrap up, tell us where people can find you and your work online.
So I am at Twitter for, again, as long as that exists.
That's a fucking thing.
At _McDevitt. I am on Blue Sky at just rudojudo.bluesky.social. And my work is at itch at rudojudo.itch.io. And I am actually going to run a special offer for people who have listened to this episode, that if you do rudojudo.itch.io/giant-of-light/ then the coupon code PO1, just the letter P, the letter O, and the number 1, that will get you half off the cost of the game. So that is something that I am not going to be posting online. I am just going to be saying it here. So for listeners of the show, if you haven't picked up my game, I would love it if you would do so. And I am also going to be running a promotion where once I have sold a total of 50 copies of the game, I'm going to be doing a giveaway of some model kits, some Ultraman model kits. Great. So that I will be talking about more online as we get closer to that goal, and how to enter. So check me out on socials for that. But yeah, so Giant of Light, I would love for more people to get eyes on this game, and keep an eye out for free lunch for Magic users and shelf warmers, hopefully coming soon, and my Apocalypse Keys supplement, which does not yet have a name.
Fuck yeah, this is a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to play this game. This made my day. Well, thank you again for playing this with me. I am delighted. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show.
Oh, Jeff in the future. I love that guy.
He's all right. Take it, future me.
Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Evan for coming on the show. This game was... this was magic. This was magic. This was like exactly, I think, the show at its best when we just get to sit back and really like celebrate, a passion together. And I think this is, I'm beaming about this game, if I'm being honest. Be sure to pick up your own copy of the game at rudojudo.itch.io. Check the show notes for more information, and be sure to follow Evan on Blue Sky at rudojudo. You can also find us at Blue Sky at Jeff Stormer. Or, as long as it's still a website, you can, I guess, head to twitter.com. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And, unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.